Welcome to Capital Catch-up, your source for the latest legislative action in Washington. I am Victor.
And I am Leanie. Today, we are looking at a series of newly introduced bills that target everything from federal education restructuring and small business support to wildlife protection and environmental cleanup. Let us start with a major set of proposals aimed at reorganizing how the federal government manages education.
That is right, Lainey. We have a suite of bills designed to reduce federal bureaucracy. The most detailed of these is House Bill 9610, also known as the Less Bureaucracy, Better K-12 Education Act. This bill proposes a massive structural shift by transferring the entire Office of Elementary and Secondary Education out of the Department of Education and placing its functions under the Secretary of Labor.
It is a significant reorganization. This means the Department of Labor would take over the administration of critical K-12 initiatives, including Title I grants for low-income schools, teacher incentive programs, and various literacy and charter school initiatives. To make sure this transition is handled efficiently without ballooning the federal government, the bill mandates that the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, oversee the process to prevent any net increase in federal full-time employees. If passed, this transition would take effect 6 months after the bill is enacted.
This is part of a broader legislative package. We also see several companion bills introduced with similar goals, though we do not have their full text details yet. These include House Bill 9609, the Less Bureaucracy, Better Student Aid Act, House Bill 9604, the Less Bureaucracy, Better Tribal Education Act, House Bill 9611, the Less Bureaucracy, Better Higher Education Act, and House Bill 9607, the Less Bureaucracy, Better Workforce Development Act.
It shows a clear legislative theme focused on consolidating federal oversight. And speaking of accountability and administrative reform, we also have House Bill 7894, the Truman Scholarship Clean House Act. This bill proposes major changes to the Harry S. Truman Memorial Scholarship Foundation.
Yes, House Bill 7894 targets the Foundation's Board of Trustees, mandating its dissolution and reconstitution to ensure a balanced, bipartisan makeup. It also tightens up the rules for the scholarship recipients themselves. For instance, it disqualifies applicants who have felony convictions or who have been involved in campus disciplinary incidents.
It also introduces transparency mandates for the Foundation's public records, formalizes the appointment process and term limits for the executive secretary, and adds a repayment requirement. Under this bill, scholarship recipients who fail to meet their public service employment obligations would have to pay back their scholarship funds. The goal here is to modernize governance, enhance accountability, and ensure ideological neutrality in the selection process.
Now let us pivot to how Congress is addressing small businesses and financial systems. First up is House Bill 2804, the Protecting Small Business Competitions Act of 2026. This bill focuses on federal procurement, which is the process the government uses to buy goods and services. It seeks to codify the Rule of Two into the Small Business Act.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with federal contracting, the Rule of Two is a guideline. It mandates that government contracts exceeding the simplified acquisition threshold must be reserved for small businesses if a contracting officer reasonably expects to receive offers from at least 2 responsible small firms at a fair market price. By writing this rule directly into law, House Bill 2804 aims to guarantee consistent, fair market access for small enterprises, though it does exclude specific delivery and task orders to keep some operational flexibility.
Another bill aimed at helping small businesses and consumers indirectly is House Bill 9383, the Small Business and Consumer Credit Act of 2026. This bill has been referred to the House Committee on Ways and Means, which is the chief tax writing committee in the House of Representatives.
House Bill 9383 proposes to amend the Internal Revenue Code to establish specific tax rules for net operating losses, or NOLs, incurred by certain financial institutions. Specifically, it creates a structured system for these banks to carry back or carry forward their net operating losses over different timeframes between 2027 and 2029, and even beyond.
The idea here is that by letting banks adjust their tax filings to account for these losses, it provides them with financial flexibility and supports their overall stability. In theory, A more stable banking system means better credit availability for everyday consumers and local small businesses looking for loans.
Moving on to environmental and energy legislation, we have House Bill 9616, the EMRTAI Authorization Act of 2026. This bill proposes an Environmental Protection Agency program dedicated to identifying and recovering critical materials from contaminated sites.
This is a fascinating, double-duty proposal. By providing financial assistance to state, local, and tribal governments, as well as nonprofits, it aims to clean up high-priority contaminated sites to protect public health, while simultaneously recovering materials to bolster our domestic supply chains. The bill sets strict annual funding caps, outlines specific evaluation criteria prioritizing national security, and includes a 10-year sunset provision, meaning the program will automatically end after 10 years unless Congress acts to renew it.
On a related note, we have House Bill 9615, the Battery Recycling for America's Competitive Economy Act, or the BRACE Act. This bill focuses on streamlining federal regulatory standards for recycling lithium-ion batteries. It standardizes the management requirements for destination facilities that store these batteries before they are recycled, making sure they follow specific universal waste handling protocols. It also updates the outdated regulatory references in the Mercury-Containing and Rechargeable Battery Management Act to create a more efficient framework for battery waste.
We also have a few other energy and administrative bills introduced, though we only have their titles for now. These are House Bill 9612, the American Enrichment Deployment Act, House Bill 9613, the Nuclear Advisory Committee Reform Act, and House Bill 9618, the DEF Act.
Finally, let us talk about wildlife conservation, which has seen some very specific legislative proposals. First is House Bill 9621, the Northwest Endangered Salmon Predation Prevention Act of 2026. This bill proposes to amend the Marine Mammal Protection Act to authorize the intentional, humane lethal taking of pinnipeds, specifically harbor seals and sea lions, within the Columbia River Basin and Washington state waters.
This is a sensitive issue, but the primary goal of the bill is to protect endangered and threatened fish species, like salmon and steelhead, from being decimated by seal and sea lion populations. The bill sets up a strict permitting process for state agencies and tribal entities to manage these removals and requires annual reports on population status and recovery progress.
To balance this, the bill also creates the Columbia River Pinniped Exclusion Technology Accelerator to help develop non-lethal innovations that prevent these animals from migrating into sensitive fish habitats in the first place. The Secretary can suspend the lethal removal authority if it is no longer necessary, and the bill explicitly ensures that these actions do not infringe upon existing tribal treaty rights.
There is also House Bill 9631, the Bear Poaching Elimination Act. This bill is aimed at protecting global bear populations by completely banning the import, export, and interstate trade of bear viscera and related products. It is driven by concerns over the cruel treatment of bears in international markets and the threat of increased poaching here at home.
House Bill 9631 establishes strict federal prohibitions with very narrow exceptions, specifically for authorized wildlife law enforcement activities and traditional Native American rituals. It sets up significant criminal and civil penalties, including fines and potential prison time, and directs the Secretary of the Interior to coordinate international enforcement. Crucially, it is written to ensure it does not get in the way of lawful state-regulated hunting.
As we wrap up today's episode, what should our listeners keep an eye on?
Definitely watch how the House Committee on Ways and Means handles the tax rules in House Bill 9383, and keep an eye on the progress of the less bureaucracy education bills, as any shift of programs from the Department of Education to the Department of Labor would mark a major change in federal policy.
That is all for today's Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.